What is going on, everyone? My name is Carter, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the first part of my Genlocke. I'm pretty sure there's at least one person right now asking themselves, Carter, what's a Genlocke? Which is honestly a fair question. A Genlocke is a complete Nuzlocke playthrough of every generation of Pokemon from Generation 1 through, as of now, Generation 9. I'll only be allowed to catch one Pokemon per route in each game, and if a Pokemon dies, it's dead forever. I won't be able to use that Pokemon in any future generation, so deaths can really cost me if I'm not careful. Additionally, the surviving members of my Hall of Fame team will be brought into the next generation as my starting team, though they'll be brought back to the pre-evolved state. Past that, I'll be following the traditional hardcore Nuzlocke rules: no items in battle outside of held items and Pokeballs to catch encounters, no overleveling the next gym leader's ace, and I'll always be playing on set mode. With the rules out of the way, let's get to the run. I start this journey where I first fell in love with Pokemon, in Pallet Town. I start my game, name my rival Carl, and then Professor Oak tells me I need a Pokemon of my own to survive out in the wild. I pick Bulbasaur, as it lines up exceptionally well into most of the major Kanto fights. Bulbasaur and I head out of Pallet Town, and we start catching our new encounters. Typically, I'm only going to be going over encounters that are actually impactful to the run, as most of the encounters I get in this run don't really make any kind of impact. The first batch of encounters before Brock are pretty okay, but most of them will be outclassed eventually. Our first new team members here are Rattata from Route 1, Weedle from Viridian Forest, Pidgey from Route 2, and Nidoran Male from Route 22. I make my way into Pewter City, rear candy my team up to level 14 to match Brock's Onix, and then Bulbasaur does exactly what they're supposed to do in this generation. They connect with a few Vine Whips, and the first badge is ours. Also, before I get comments about this, yes, I'm going to be giving myself rare candies and max repels to speed up these playthroughs. I want to try to get these videos out in a decent time frame, and by using them is going to just allow me to make them faster. Actually, now that I think about it, leave a comment down below letting me know how disappointed you are in me using the candies. After all, comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. We leave from Pewter City and head east towards Mount Moon. Nothing overly exciting happens along the way. I find a Jigglypuff on Route 3 and pick up the Helix fossil on our way out of Mount Moon, and then Jigglypuff KOs our Ekans encounter on Route 4. Oh no. Anyway, Carl is hanging out on the Nugget Bridge, so naturally we need to go beat him up on our way to go see Bill. He leads Pidgeotto and I lead Nidorino. A few horn attacks later and Pidgeotto goes down. Next out comes Abra, which literally can't hurt us, so Nidorino takes it out as well. Rattata comes out for Carl, I swap to Beedrill and Fury attack them down, but not before taking a Hyper Fang for pretty good damage. Charmander is last for Carl, so in comes Pidgeotto of our own to take them out with a few Gust and a Quick Attack. Pretty easy fight for the team. After Beedrill makes quick work of the trainers on Nugget Bridge, Route 24 gives us an Oddish, and Route 25 gives us an Abra. Too bad it's faster than Jigglypuff and gets to teleport away before we can put it to sleep. It's fine. This is fine. We fight through the rest of the gauntlet on Route 25, make our way to Bill, help him not be a Clefairy anymore, and he gives us the SS ticket for our efforts. Finally, it's time for another gym fight, which means it's time for Ivysaur to click Vine Whip a few more times and get our second badge. I do think it's funny that Misty claims to use a, quote, full-out offensive strategy, and then she spends multiple turns setting up X-Defense against my special attacker. Just a great job overall, Misty. Both teams fought really hard. Before we get to the SS Anne, we have a few more encounters. In Vermilion City, I get the Old Rod and fish up a Magikarp, and in Diglett Cave, I get our state-issued Diglett. One of these is going to be used way more than the other, but they're both good additions to the box for now. On the SS Anne, I pick up a few TMs, and then the team runs into Carl again. His team hasn't improved too much since the last time we saw him, so this shouldn't be too different from last time either. He leads his Pidgeotto again, and this time I lead Gloom. Sleep Powder puts them to sleep, and then Raticate comes in and takes him out with a few Hyper Fangs. Next we have an honor battle against his own Raticate, but our rat power is just too much to be stopped. Kadabra comes out, and we outspeed, and a Hyper Fang takes them out as well. Last for Carl is his Charmeleon, and a few more Hyper Fangs cleans up the fight. We grab the HM for Cut, and then it's time for the hardest part of any Kanto playthrough: Surge's Trash Can Puzzle. After spending more time than I'm willing to admit, it's time for another gym fight. Surge's team is pretty straightforward, with having 3 electric types that are all outsped by Diglett. So Voltorb, Pikachu, and Raichu all just go down to a dig each. This is probably the easiest gym fight we've had so far, and that's really saying something. Thank you for your service, Diglett. We won't be seeing you the rest of this run. After humiliating Surge, we head to Route 9, netting us a Spearow, which will actually let us retire Pidgeotto. After humiliating Surge, we head to Route 10, netting us a Spearow, which lets us retire Pidgeotto, and definitely won't be getting outclassed later. We head into Rock Tunnel, where we don't really struggle all too much to get through. Gloom does a lot of heavy lifting through all the rock types in here, and just like that, we're in Lavender Town. There's not a whole lot for us to do here now, so we just head west into Celadon City, and make a beeline for the gym, where Beedrill just has a grand old time beating up Erica. Beedrill outspeeds her entire team, and clicks Twin Needle a few times to claim our 4th badge. For those who don't know, the bug type is actually super effective against poison types in Generation 1, so her Vileplume and Victory Bell are actually 4 times weak to Twin Needle here, so this is actually a really easy fight for Beedrill. Next on the to-do list is to start taking down the local crime ring by infiltrating their base and fighting their boss. Giovanni 1 isn't too hard of a fight typically, so hopefully this is no exception. We lead Fearow into his Onix because I definitely forgot how he leads. We pivot Gloom in and proceed to OHKO his Onix and Rhyhorn both with Absorbs. Giovanni brings in his Kangaskhan, and after a pivot to Fearow and then back to Gloom for some reason, we connect to Sleep Powder, giving us a free switch to Raticate that will then finish him off with a few Hyper Fangs. Next up, we head back to Lavender Town to clear out Team Rocket again, but first we have to beat up Carl. He leads Pidgeotto into our Fearow, and after a few turns of fly, we take out Pidgeotto, Execute, Gyarados, Kadabra, and finally Charmeleon. We pick up our Ghastly encounter on the 3rd floor, and Fearow makes quick work of the rest of Team Rocket, letting us save Mr. Fuji and get the Pokeflute. We make our way back to Route 16 and pick up Snorlax as our encounter, followed by Doduo on Route 17, and then we're in Fuchsia City. I had to pick up the Gold Teeth and Surf from the Safari Zone, and then I decided to finish off the Team Rocket storyline for this game. In Silphco, we face off against Carl once again. He leads Pidgeot this time, and I lead Snorlax. I body slam down Pidgeot, hit another on Execute, but not before he sets up Reflect. I see this as a perfect opportunity to set up a few Amnesia to get that sweet badge boost glitch, and another body slam takes out Execute, 2 more takes out Gyarados, and then 1 more for Alakazam. Snorlax is too low to stay in on Charizard, so I switch into Gyarados and hit a Hydro Pump, but now I'm dead to another slash crit. I pivot out into Dodrio, who then hits a Fury attack to win us the fight. Beating Carl gives us access to the free Lapras, and the second fight against Giovanni. He leads Nidorino and I lead Snorlax. I want to set up a few badge boosts here to just sweep through his team, so I set up 3 Hardens. For those who don't know what the badge boost glitch is, in Generation 1, whenever you use a stat boosting move, the game recalculates your stats and applies the badge boost you get to them as well. So by setting up 3 Hardens, we're getting multiple 12.5% boosts to our attack and defense here. Body Slam gets the OHKO on Nidorino, 2 more take out Kangaskhan, 3 on Rhyhorn, and 2 more to finish off his Nidoqueen. Really easy fight. Now I have a decision of which gym I want to take on. Both Koga and Sabrina have the same level cap, so I need to take them both out before I can level my team anymore. I decided I'm going to go take out Koga first, and Beedrill makes a return here to try to sweep through with some more Twin Needles. Ultimately, if Beedrill gets hit with an explosion, I'll be fine without them. I'm sure there's probably another route I could go without risking me losing a Pokemon, but I really like the idea of another Beedrill sweep. And surely we're not going to get hit with a self-destruct, right? Well, anyway, with our first death of the run, we get our 5th badge. And really, losing Beedrill is so incredibly fine. So now it's time for Sabrina. Dodrio outspeeds everything on her team, and Generation 1 Psychic types aren't really known for their physical bulk, so with 5 Drill Pecks, we have our 6th badge as well. Next up is a trip to Cinnabar Island to take on Blaine. We make our way into the Pokemon Mansion, pick up the secret key, and head into the gym. Gyarados clicks Surf to take out Growlithe and Ponyta, Hydro Pump on Rapidash, and after missing a Hydro Pump, another connects to take out Arcanine. Last but not least for the Kanto gym leaders is Giovanni 3. He leads Rhyhorn, and we lead Lapras. Surf takes out Rhyhorn, Dugtrio, Nidoqueen, Nidoking, and finally Rhydon. These Kanto gyms have been really easy, and Giovanni is no exception to that. We have one more fight before the Elite Four, but before we beat Carl up again, I think it's about time we finally start assembling the final team. I head to Pewter City to pick up the old Amber so I can have it revived into Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is pretty underwhelming in Generation 1, but it can be an absolute menace once it gets a good move pool in the later generations. And with that, the final 6 is finally assembled. Venusaur, Snorlax, Gengar, Gyarados, Lapras, and finally, Aerodactyl. This gives us a really good suite of physical and special attackers, and a good combination of bulk and speed. Time for another fight against Carl. He leads Pidgeot, we lead Gengar. A single Thunderbolt is enough to take them out, and Rhyhorn comes out. We swap to Lapras, which takes Rhyhorn out with the Surf, and then comes Execute, which is taken out by a single Blizzard. Gyarados comes out, Blizzard does really solid damage, and then an Ice Beam takes him out on the following turn. Alakazam is next, and a Blizzard into Ice Beam takes him out as well. Charizard is last for Carl. We pivot into Gyarados on a Leer. A Hydro Pump connects, and with that, we're on our way into the Indigo Plateau. An uneventful trip through Victory Road later, and we're at the last obstacle on our journey through Kanto. There's just 5 fights standing in our way between us and the Hall of Fame. I finished rare-candying the team up to level 62 to match Lance's Dragonite, and the team is ready. Let's do this. First up is Lorelei. She leads Dugong and I lead Venusaur. Sleep Powder and the Leech Seed lets us start setting up Growth to try to sweep, and in hindsight, Growth doesn't actually do anything for us, as Gen 1 crits ignore our stat boost as well, and with our only special attacking move being Razor Leaf that always crits, it's not useful to set up. Razor Leaf sweep the team up until Lapras, where it puts them on a sliver of health, and naturally their Blizzard crits to take Venusaur out. Poor planning cost me Venusaur, and they're going to be missed. Gengar comes in and finishes the opposing Lapras off, and we're on to Bruno. He leads Onix and we lead Gyarados. Surf picks up the Oko, and Hitmonchan comes out. Hydro Pump picks up the one-shot on them, and a crit Hydro Pump takes out Bruno's Hitmonlee. Surf takes out the second Onix, and another crit Hydro Pump gets the Oko on Machamp. A little bit of luck makes for an easy fight, but we were never really at risk to lose to Bruno. Agatha is third up for the Elite Four. We have a Gengar Mirror match to start, with Psychic coming out for us, and it does decent damage. And then we're put to sleep by Hypnosis. An immediate wake up means that their follow-up Dream Eater does nothing, and then they're taken out by a second Psychic. Next comes in Golbat for Agatha, which is quickly dispatched by a Thunderbolt. Haunter is next, and it, as well as a follow-up, Arbok, are both OHKO'd by Psychic. Last for Agatha is her second Gengar. Psychic does a solid chunk, and she goes for Toxic. Into my Poison type. Well, another Psychic finishes the fight, so thanks for throwing Agatha. Last for the Elite Four is Lance and his, dragons? First up is Lapras versus Gyarados. A crit Hyper Beam from him puts us really low and forces him to recharge the next turn. Blizzard does just over 50%, and thanks to the recharge turn, we get a free swap into Gengar. We outspeed and Thunderbolt finishes off the Gyarados. Next is Dragonair, and thanks to the way the Gen 1 AI works, they're always going to click their Psychic type attack here, which is Agility. We can abuse this against the rest of his team, and Gengar is free to take the rest of the fight on solo. A few Thunderbolts and Psychics later, and Dragonair 1, Dragonair 2, Aerodactyl, and Dragonite are all taken out. Gen 1 AI is just so bad. With that, we've officially defeated the Elite Four, but there's one last fight before the Hall of Fame. Champion Carl. He leads his Pidgeot into Gengar. Thunderbolt makes quick work of them, and next comes Alakazam. We swap to Snorlax on a Psychic, which naturally gets the special drop. The follow-up Psybeam does a pretty big chunk, but it's not enough. Hyper Beam connects to take out his biggest threat. Rhydon comes in, and we swap into Gyarados on the Horn Drill, and thanks to the way Oko moves work in Gen 1, we are never at risk of it connecting. Rhydon has both Tail Whip and Leer, both of which will trigger the Badge Boost glitch, and we aren't at threat of either of his damaging moves. So because of this, I decided it's okay to try to stall against the Rhydon to get as many boosts as we possibly can, so I go for Hyper Beam twice here. But Carl isn't really cooperating, and we get a total of 0 boost off of 4 turns, so a Surf takes out the Rhydon. Next up is Exeggutor, which goes down to 2 Ice Beams. Gyarados comes in after Exeggutor goes down. We connect with a critical hit Ice Beam as we dodge a Leer. A second Ice Beam puts them low, and they connect with a Hyper Beam, which doesn't crit. We fire off our own Hyper Beam to take them out, and last for Carl is his Charizard. I decided it's best if we don't stay in and swap into Aerodactyl. And then quickly I'm reminded that Aerodactyl is so garbage. I mean, seriously, just look at this moveset. Hyper Beam, Agility, Fly, and Bite. Aerodactyl doesn't learn a single rock-type attack in Generation 1. This is so garbage. Anyway, a critical hit Hyper Beam puts Charizard down to a sliver, and they connect with another Fire Blast, putting us low. We have to recharge, and that puts us at risk of losing Aerodactyl. But Carl throws here by going for a full restore. Another Fire Blast surely is going to take Aerodactyl out, so we swap Aerodactyl for Gengar on the following Fire Blast, connect with a Thunderbolt for massive damage, and then get trapped by Fire Spin. It's not going to be enough to take Gengar out, so our next Thunderbolt connects and wins us the fight. With that, we're inducted into the Hall of Fame, and the first leg of our Genlocke is complete. We have a really solid team moving into Crystal with Gengar, Gyarados, Aerodactyl, Snorlax, and Lapras moving on. Unfortunately, we did have a few losses along the way with Beedrill and Venusaur, so both of those lines are going to be completely eliminated from any future encounters. But I feel really good about beating our next part of the journey. If you made it this far and liked the video, please leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel to get notifications when the next video goes up, and comment down below what the nickname theme of the next leg should be. I want to give a huge thanks to Carl for editing this video, and until next time everyone, peace.